Okay then, so we've seen quite a lot of different types so far. Now I'd like to touch on something called type conversion, and that basically means turning one data type into another data type. And you might want to do this sometimes. For example, we've got a variable here called score, and we've set it equal to 100, but the string 100. Now imagine we wanted to perform some math with that value. We wanted to add 1 to the score, for example, which would be 101. Now, if that's a string and we try to add 1, then this is not going to work. We're going to get concatenation whereby the number here is added on to the end, so it becomes 1001. So we're not adding 1 to the value. So it would be nice if we could convert this string into a number type and then perform the calculation. That is type conversion. So then, let me do this. What I'm going to do is grab the score value and we're going to update it by turning it into a number. And the way we do that is by saying number, capital N, and then in brackets we pass in the variable that we want to turn into a number, which is the score. So now we're saying the score is equal to the number version of the score, and that takes this string and it turns it into a number, and that number would be 100. So now when we try to add 1 to the score, because it's a number now, we've converted it, now it should be 101. So let's test that out. Now we get 101. Cool. Okay, so that's a simple type conversion. And by the way, you can check the type of something by using the type of operator. So let me just do that, console.log, and I'm going to say type of, all one word, then a space, then the variable that we want to check the type of. So we want to check the type of score. I'm going to save that. And we're going to see that this is a number. Now, if I just comment out this line, so we're not turning it into a number, then it should be string, because originally it was a string up here. Okay? Okay, cool. So let's move on. Now, what if we have a new variable called results, and we want to set that equal to a string? What if we want to try converting this into a number? Well, that doesn't really make sense, does it? Let's try it. So number, and then we pass in the value that we want to turn into a number. I'm going to log down here the result, like so, and save it. So if we come over here, we can see now not a number. So if we try to take something that doesn't really make sense to turn into a number and try to use this right here to turn it into a number, then we're going to get not a number as a result. Okay? All right then, so let's try it the other way around. What if we want to take a number and turn it into a string? Well, let's say let result equal to, this time, string with a capital S, and then we're going to pass in a number. I'm going to pass in 50, and I'm going to save it and come over here, and we can see 50. Now, how do we know that this is actually a string and not a number? Well, first of all, when we type in a number in the console, it comes out as blue, but that's shady logic. We can use the type of operator down here. We can say type of, and then we'll put the result there. So every time we do some kind of conversion, we're outputting the result and the type of that result variable. So if I save, we can see that 50 and string. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to take this and convert it into a string, right? Okay, so let's move on. Let's do another example. We can also convert things into booleans. Remember, booleans are those things true or false. So we could say let result equal to boolean, and then pass in something like 100. Now, what do you think this is going to do? Well, if I save this and come over here, we get true, and the type is boolean. So when we do this type of conversion in JavaScript, when we try to make something into a boolean, some values are considered true and others false. Now, you might hear them being called truthy or falsy values. And this right here, this 100, this is a truthy value. But if I try 0 and save it, then we get false. So 0 is a falsy value. Okay, so positive numbers are considered a truthy value in type conversion. Minus numbers are also truthy, but 0 is false. Okay, now let's do another example. I'm going to come down here and say again, let result this time equal to a boolean, and it's going to be the string 0. So what's this going to be? We know that this is a falsy value, normal 0, but what about a string of 0? Well, let's come over here. We can see this time it's true. Now, strings of any length, they are all truthy. But if we make it an empty string of no length, then this would be falsy. Okay? We can see false now. So this is all explicit type conversion, meaning we've explicitly tried to convert the types, right? Now there's also something called implicit type conversion, which JavaScript does behind the scene. We saw that in the last video when we talked about loose comparison. JavaScript changed the type of our values behind the scene before comparing them. And that will come into play in other areas too in the future. For now though, it's enough just to understand that we can convert types either ourselves, explicitly like this, or implicitly behind the scene.